Welcome to Architect of Tomorrow. We don't just write code here, we design the systems that run the world.
So, you ever wonder what really separates a great developer from a true software architect? I mean, it's not about being able to write the most complicated code or knowing every single algorithm by heart. Nope. It's really about a massive shift in how you think. Today, we're going to dive into what that journey looks like. Going from just cranking out features to actually building the future. This quote, it just nails it, doesn't it? Code solves problems, architecture prevents them. As developers, we're incredible problem solvers, right? Fixing bugs, knocking out logic, closing those Jira tickets, that's our bread and butter. But an architect, their main gig is to look into the future, to design things in a way that whole categories of problems just never exist in the first place. It's literally the difference between being a firefighter and fireproofing the entire building. And hey, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That implementation-first mindset is how stuff actually gets built. It's this straightforward tactical flow, You get a requirement, you figure out the data, you write the code, and you ship it. It's all about speed and getting that feature out the door. It's the world we live in every single day. But then, maybe you've had this happen. You're in a code review, and someone hits you with this question. What problem is this code trying to solve in 5 years? And bam, that question just changes everything, doesn't it? It's a total reframe. All of a sudden, you're not thinking about this sprint or this one user story. You're forced to think about how this tiny decision you're making right now is going to play out over time. How's it going to feel for the person who has to maintain this code years down the line? That is the exact moment a developer starts thinking like an architect. And this really breaks down that mindset difference. A developer, while they're zoomed in, they're focused on the code, trying to find the best way, the right way to solve this one problem for this one project. But the architect? They're zoomed way out. They see the whole system, the big picture. And they get that there's almost never a single right answer. It's all about trade-offs, a constant balancing act between performance, cost, how easy it is to maintain, and they're looking at that across the entire life of the system. So this superpower of thinking across time, it actually has a name, temporal thinking. And honestly, this is the one skill that really separates straight-up programming from true architecture. Architects aren't just building for what we need today. They're designing systems that can bend and flex and evolve. Because let's face it, business needs and tech are always going to change. Okay, so let's dig into what an architect actually does. It's not about being some kind of code wizard locked away in an ivory tower. Nope, their most important job is being that human connection, that bridge between what the business wants to do and what the technology can do. And believe me, this is a huge shift. You go from talking to a computer all day to talking to people. Your job becomes about taking all these different inputs, what the stakeholders need, what the business is trying to achieve, how much money we have, and translating all of that into a technical plan that your team can actually go and build. Now, this diagram looks complicated, I know. But don't worry about reading every single box. Just look at the big picture, the flow. Up at the top, you've got the mission, the big why. Way down at the bottom, you've got the technical model, the how. The architect, they're the one who lives in that messy space in between. They have to deal with all the stakeholders, all their different concerns and points of view to make sure that what gets built actually serves that original mission. They're literally the ones weaving this whole thing together. So what does this actually look like day to day? Well, it's a mix of big picture strategy and getting your hands dirty with the details. You can see it here, talking with stakeholders, designing data models, making sure everything is secure, getting different systems to talk to each other, and always making sure the tech aligns with where the company wants to go. Do you see the pattern? So much of this is about connecting people and systems. And this quote, this is just such a perfect dose of reality. Being an architect means nothing is ever simple. Every single choice is a compromise. Maybe you choose speed now and worry about scale later, or you cut a feature to stay on budget. And the hardest part, you have to be able to stand up and defend that choice to literally everyone, from the CEO down to the brand new developer on the team. So, how do you make these tough calls and defend them? Well, it's not just gut feeling. This brings us to the Architect's Toolkit. Real architecture is a discipline. It has tools and frameworks that help you manage all that complexity and make sure your big decisions are smart and intentional, not just random guesses. And you might be surprised to learn that one of the most powerful tools an architect has isn't some fancy software. It's a whiteboard. Look at this data. The top reasons architects have meetings are all about people getting together, brainstorming ideas, explaining how things work, and sketching out the big picture. This is where the magic happens, where you get everyone on the same page before a single line of code gets written. Now,
To add some structure to all that whiteboarding, architects use frameworks like TOGAF and Zachman. And listen, you don't need to memorize these right now. The big takeaway is that they provide a system. TOGAF is kind of like a repeatable recipe, a step-by-step guide for doing architecture. Zachman is more like a checklist, a grid that makes sure you've thought about the problem from every possible angle, from the big picture what, all the way down to the nitty-gritty how.
And here's what that looks like in the real world. This diagram shows the journey of a new student trying to enroll in college. You can see how the student, the admissions office, even the bank all have to interact. An architect takes this very human process, and uses it to design a system that actually makes it all work seamlessly. They're turning a real-world story into a technical blueprint.
Okay, this brings us to our final and maybe most important point. Architecture is business strategy. When you boil it all down, that's what it is. Great architecture isn't just a fun technical challenge, it's the bedrock of a company's strategy, and it's absolutely critical for making a real long-term impact.
You see, an architect is there for the entire journey. They don't just show up at the beginning. They start by digging into the business needs. Then, they design for big things like scale and reliability. And they don't just throw a diagram over the wall and walk away. No way. They stick around to guide the development team. And even after the thing goes live, they're still there, monitoring it, planning its future, making sure it keeps delivering value.
And the payoff for the business? It's huge. We're talking about the ability to handle thousands of users at once without the whole thing falling over, or being able to update a creaky old legacy system without shutting down the entire company. It's about minimizing those scary bottlenecks and outages. Good architecture isn't a cost on a spreadsheet. It is an investment that prevents disasters and creates opportunity.
So let's just bring this all home. The whole point, the ultimate goal, is to build a system that can grow and change right alongside the business. It's not just about making something that works right now. It's about building a technical foundation that is an asset that propels the company forward, not a liability that holds it back.
So I want to leave you with this one final thought, kind of a challenge really. The next time you're head down, deep in your code editor, just for a second, I want you to zoom out. Ask yourself this question, because the moment you start thinking about the future impact of your code, well, that's the moment you stop just being a coder and you start becoming an architect.